Jason said that this would be a big tease because he said the Wizards would win Game 6 but lose Game 7.
Right.
You
We'll
predicted
find out
that
tonight.
too, I think.
Kind of tend to. I mean, look, has a home team lost yet in the series?
No, including the season
Yeah,
series.
but you know what that means? It's long overdue, JP.
Yes, due theory.
It's the long overdue theory.
All right, but join us right now to give us her insight from CSN. It's Christy Winters-Scott. She's a host and analyst on the pre- and post-game shows, Wizards Central, Wizards Post-Game Live. I've done Wizards Overtime with her. Good morning, Christy.
How are you?
Hello. Doing great.
Good morning, guys. Great.
So before we talk Game 7, talk about that finish in Game 6. We've been talking about it, and John embodies the city, and he's saying that this is his city. Did you?
I tell you what, when the forming, you could tell that the play was designed for Bradley Beal to get the ball, but it was taking too long, and then Otto Porter's head started swiveling left to right, and the time was clicking away, and then John came up from that strong side corner to get the ball, and you know, I'd like to see John attack in that moment, and the threes weren't falling that night at all. I think they ended up 5 for 24 from 3, but thank God he made it. You know, I think everybody was probably thinking the same thing, you know, attack the rim and try to just tie it up. And, you know, he went for the win at home. I guess that's the philosophy of most people is to, you know, go for the win. So I'm just glad it went down.
I don't think
he wouldn't have lived it down. He wouldn't have lived it down had he missed it. I tell you that.
Maybe, but I don't think he was thinking. I think he just went in rhythm, and it was a rhythm play for him. It's a shot that we've seen him take a million times. It's a shot he practices all the time, and I think he just, you know, I think ideally it would have probably preferred to go to the basket, but it was just you know, instinctive.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think he was running out of time. I mean, there was only, 3.3 seconds left after he hit it. So it was a wise choice. And you're right, it was in rhythm. And, you know, he wanted it. And I'm just glad he knocked it down. And then when John got up on that table, I was elated for him, you know, just to have that pressure lifted off of him, to be that go-to guy, to hit a clutch shot. And it reminded me a lot of that Gilbert Arenas shot in the Chicago series over Kirk Heinrich. You know, the emotions of that and kind of how that lifted Gilbert Arenas at that point in his career. So I just really think it was good for the confidence for John Wall individually, but for the mojo and confidence of the team as well.
You know, Christy, we tried to analyze the mentality of this team going on the road in this series because they obviously have not won up there in Boston, including the regular season. Now, Boston hadn't won in D.C. either. So we're just trying to analyze what the mentality is. What does the mentality have to be for the Wizards in this one, considering they haven't won? They know they haven't won. It's the only question they're facing from the media. Can you win in Boston? And then add to that, it's Game 7. I mean, that's added pressure there. So what do they have to do mentally to get over that hump?
They just have to lock in. I mean, it's about a confidence thing. They can't overthink the moment, and I know that's easier said than done in a Game 7 on the road situation in the Garden, no less, but they can't think about the past. All that is in the past. You haven't won on the road against Boston. That's all behind them. What they need to do is be forward-thinking. What are we going to do as a team collectively and win? And I think for them, they need to be in an up-tempo game. They need to control the glass. They need to contain Isaiah Thomas, but they also need to rotate fast and quickly out of the traps. If you're going to trap him, you got to get to the next pass and the next pass right away with choppy feet and close out. They've got to be attentive on the defensive end. There can't be any sluggish body language either, and I thought in Game 6 there was a lot of that, and I was very concerned all game long with that part of the game. So they have to play with a sense of urgency on every single possession, no plays off, and they've got to compete. And if they do that, Washington is the better team. We know that. So they've got to go ahead and prove that regardless of where this game is being played. They could play it at Rucker Park in New York. They can play it out, you know, down outside somewhere. They have to play hard. It doesn't matter where it is. It matters how they play. If they are in every area that they have been when they've been successful, then they'll move on to the next round.
Joined by Christy Winters-Scott. You can check her out on CSN, Mid-Atlantic's pre- and post-game Wizards programs, Wizards Central, Wizards Post-Game Live. You know, I tend to agree with you that the Wizards are the better team, but then I've been thinking about it. Why do I keep thinking they're the better team? It's 5-5. The Celtics had the better record in the regular season. Are we disrespecting what Boston has? Because, you focus in on Isaiah. Well, Avery Bradley's had a great, the last couple games, great Game 5 and Game 6. And Horford's been a beast throughout this series.
By the way, Horford's shooting 69% for the series.
That's crazy.
That's not from the free throw line. That's from the field.
I bet you the last 2 games combined is probably over 80.
8 for 12 and 8 for 9.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's phenomenal. And, yes, Boston is the number 1 seed in the East. I get that. But at the same time, if Washington plays the way we know they can play in terms of their effectiveness and efficiency, I think they have a great chance. And I think they are the better team top to bottom. If you go all the way down the roster, I think that if they're playing their best in terms of their defense and not necessarily their shooting percentages, I think when they're clicking on the defensive end, when they can go on a 26-0 run in a game because of that defense, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I mean when I say they're the better team.